The Ahsoka book has been out for a week now, and I've done a couple videos on it already, but in these books there are always lots of little details that I think are cool, but there just isn't enough to make a video dedicated to each one of them. So in this video I'll be talking about 25 smaller details we learned from the Ahsoka book. Obviously, spoilers for the book are ahead. During the Ahsoka panel at Celebration last year, Dave Filoni talked about the stories we never saw surrounding Ahsoka. He said they're basically canon, which is great and all, but this book directly references two of those tales, solidifying their place within the universe. First is the Siege of Mandalore, in which Ahsoka battles Maul. Second is a story involving a slaver that poses as a Jedi to take Ahsoka away as a youngling before Plo Koon arrived to take her to the Jedi Temple. In the Rebels Season 2 finale, Maul calls Ahsoka Lady Tano. We learn in the book that's meant as an insult, a jab at the fact that she is not a Jedi. We also learn that Maul escaped Mandalore because Ahsoka had to choose between killing him or saving Rex. It's a little fuzzy on the timeline, but he may have escaped in the confusion of Order 66. Ahsoka and Rex helped each other fake their own deaths after the Siege of Mandalore. Records indicated that they killed each other. A false grave was prepared for Rex, and Ahsoka's lightsabers were buried with the false body. Sounds like Ahsoka and Rex fought against Order 66 together. Ahsoka mentions reaching out with the Force to feel for Anakin, and she can't do it. His presence in the Force as Darth Vader is different than his presence as Anakin, so she assumes he's dead. I'm not sure why she can't feel Obi-Wan or Yoda. Maybe she just doesn't know where to look, or her bond with them wasn't as strong. The book does a great job of communicating the loneliness that she feels. We take for granted the knowledge that Obi-Wan and Yoda are alive, but for all Ahsoka knows, she is the last Jedi in the universe, or almost Jedi. Ahsoka asks herself how many younglings were killed by a face they implicitly trusted. She was referring to clones, but the double meaning was not lost. Ahsoka goes by the fake name Ashla, which was the ancient name for the light side of the Force in Legends, which has actually been used a couple of times in the canon now as well. It also happens to be the name of this youngling of the same species. Her cover story includes adoptive parents. When asked if her parents ever fought, she smiles and says yes, and that's just adorable. Non-clone stormtroopers were in service as early as 1 year after Order 66. Phasing out clones began as soon as their true purpose had been fulfilled. Ahsoka explores her feelings towards Barriss and how her portrayal in the Clone Wars deeply hurt her. I was kinda hoping to see Barriss pop up in this story, but this mention is all we get. Kashyyyk has been enslaved at this point. With the Jedi gone, the Empire was free to begin subjugating alien races. Each planet was scrambling to protect themselves, and none were able to help the Wookiees. Speaking of alien races, there's a line about Palpatine stepping on his old allies from his home planet. Sounds like a hint that the Gungans aren't faring so well. And reading this book, I made the connection for the first time that Palpatine ordered a species from his own planet to be wiped out during Episode 1. I wonder if he has a bad history with the Gungans, and maybe that's why he's so anti-alien. When Ahsoka is creating her new lightsabers, she is seeking balance. I can see similarities between her and the Bendu. She is in the middle, hence the white lightsabers. It would be very interesting if the two of them ever meet. Ahsoka uses her experience training a small militia on Felucia and the resistance on Onderon to train the farmers on Raeda. We are introduced to another Inquisitor, the sixth brother. We know he had gray skin and blue eyes, and that his lightsaber crystals were stolen from the Jedi Temple. His description sounds a lot like the fifth brother. After this book, we're still missing the first through fourth brothers or sisters, and I hope we get some stories for them at some point. Again, 1 year after the start of the Empire, Inquisitors were already rounding up Force-sensitive children for experimentation and corruption. Ahsoka considers hiding on Takodana, but instead decides to stop running. There's no mention of Maz or her castle, though. There is a brief interlude in which Obi-Wan trains to learn the secrets to life after death and speaks to the voice of Qui-Gon. Although he's only been on Tatooine for a year, he feels the harsh climate affecting him, making him feel older than his age. This could be seen as a reason for Obi-Wan, Owen, and Beru seeming to age so quickly between episodes 3 and 4. The normal Imperial military are annoyed whenever Force users show up. This is consistent with Vader's treatment on the Death Star, but I really just like the idea of some Imperial officer going about his business and having to drop whatever he's doing and focus on some Inquisitor's problems without any explanation provided. That is annoying. There are multiple planets like Ilum. They have naturally high quantities of kyber crystals. Pilgrimages were made to all of them like we saw in the Clone Wars. Jeddah is obviously being referenced here. I hope we get something connecting Jeddah more solidly with the prequel-era Jedi Order at some point. Although, even to Yoda's admission, the Jedi had lost their way. Perhaps they forgot their roots and ignored worlds that were once very important to them. Since synthetic kyber crystals are no longer canon, we learn how dark side users made their red blades. They filled stolen Jedi crystals with the dark side, and that's pretty much it. The process was known as bleeding. I assume the same could be done to a naturally found crystal, but I can also see a reason that that would be impossible. Kyber crystals are invisible to the naked eye. They look like ice unless the Force reveals their true appearance. It's possible a Sith would be unable to see a kyber crystal in its naturally formed state. Maybe the only way they can find them is by stealing a known crystal from a known location or source like a lightsaber. Speaking of invisible crystals, the Empire sent mining crews to Ilum. Since normal people can't see the kyber crystals they were after, they just tore huge chunks out of the planet. I assume to be sent off for Force sensitives to sift through. We see Bail Organa's early work as a rebel leader. It's very cloak and dagger, and he's careful with who he trusts. I would actually love a political thriller story about him. Someone get Jimmy Smits on the phone. Finally, Ahsoka begins working almost as a superhero in the Outer Rim, helping those in need with a mask and everything. Her work gains the attention of Bail. The two team up, and Ahsoka chooses the codename Fulcrum. There you have it. 25 little details from Ahsoka. Was there anything in there you'd like to know more about? If there's some interest, I could try to expand on even the smaller topics. If you haven't already, please like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on the various places, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.